This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg here in South Africa. My name, of course, Evan Jensen. This show is always live, broadcast from our studios right here in Auckland Park in Johannesburg. Don't forget, between 9 and 12, you can also watch us on the live streaming facility on our YouTube channel. You can also watch highlights of the show back on that same channel throughout the day and the week. Now, we've got a question of the day to you here on the show. As always, our question that we want you to interact with us is this one on the screen right now. Has the Fees Must Fall campaign been hijacked by criminality? Send us your views at SABC Newsroom. That's where we want you to interact with us, as you can see. But lots of news, bumper-packed show today. Let's get straight into the news of the day with Elvis Presley who's standing by with an update.
The University of the Western Cape expressed horror at the conduct of some protesting students following attacks on fellow students and police. Parliament obtains a second Labour court interdict against striking staff. And Rand Water struggles to fill its reservoirs and sees water cut-offs in some areas. These are some of your top stories this hour, but first, before we get to our top story, let's find out from Kendall Makamata what's happening on the sports field. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Elvis. Thank you very much, and good morning to you at home as well. This is what we've got for you in the sports. Suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter, who's been in hospital since Friday last week, has suffered a small emotional breakdown, but still plans to appeal his suspension. Russian President Vladimir Putin orders an investigation the water-related doping charges. And of course, Mozambique and Zambia have won their first leg 2018 World Cup second round qualifiers. So be sure to stick around for that. 10:20 is when we do our first sports bulletin. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start off with our top story this hour. The University of the Western Cape says it is horrified at the conduct of protesting students who have attacked fellow students and police. The students damaged property in the name of the Fees Must Fall campaign. The protesters disrupted end-of-year exams at the UWC Belleville campus. They severely assaulted 4 security guards, shot at police with live ammunition, set several buildings alight and looted the cafeteria. Riot police were forced to be called in, and they have to call in reinforcements. Police then used stun grenades to disperse the protesters. 10 students have been arrested and exams have been postponed to December the 1st. Now, for the latest on the story, we now cross to our reporter, Vanessa Puna, who is at the University of the Western Cape. Vanessa, very good morning to you, and can you tell us what is the very latest to come out of the UWC?
Yes, good morning, Shu. Here at UWC this morning, the premises is all but deserted, except for a few students who had gathered here at the Chris Hani residence on campus, moving off from here to the Belleville Magistrates Court in support of 10 of their colleagues that were arrested during the violence which erupted on campus yesterday. We spoke to some of the Fees Must Fall movement members just now, one in particular, CV Mama, telling us that the media is misrepresenting what exactly is taking place here on campus. And when probed for exactly what kind of misrepresentation that is, she said that most of the broken windows that we see around campus is as a result of police opening rubber bullets on protesting students. Now, we also asked about what we've seen, the looting of cafeterias, as well as the setting alight of furniture, etc. And CV Mama has told us that this is part of the protest, that this is how South Africans vent their frustration and anger. And at this stage, the anger coming from the Fees Must Fall movement here on the campus of UWC is that they want historical debt to be written off. They're also accusing university management of not hearing them, not taking their views into consideration, but rather just concerning themselves with the Student Representative Council. Earlier this morning, I did an interview with UWC Rector, Professor Tyrone Pretorius, who in strongest possible terms condemned the kind of violence that has played itself out here on campus. The worst, some people say, in the university's 50-odd-year history. Not even at the height of the apartheid years have people seen the kind of violence. Security officers attacked, fellow students allegedly being intimidated, and then the result is that the exam scheduled for yesterday now suspended until next week.
Did the students indicate as to why they are vandalizing the campus?
Students say that they are frustrated. This is why they have resorted to the kind of protest action that we have seen taking place here on campus, the setting alight of dirt bins, setting alight of furniture. We have visual material taken during yesterday's protest, which shows students carrying couches, furniture, for example, out of residences and setting them alight. Now, students are saying that they are being portrayed in the media as being hooligans, but that this is not the case. They've instead blasted the police for using rubber bullets, stun grenades, etc. There have also been reports, I must say, unconfirmed at this stage, but allegations from students here as part of the Fees Must Fall campaign that security officers that have been deployed on campus to maintain order and to bring about some sort of stability. According to these students, they're alleging that they are being sexually harassed, inappropriate remarks and comments made from these security officials, and they've also accused police of hate speech, of using the K word when speaking to students when they storm their residences and dorms here at the University of the Western Cape. After the violence of last night, all relatively quiet today, a couple of students milling about, and some of them saying that they will support 10 students who were arrested during the violence yesterday. Now, speaking to the police this morning, they could confirm that 10 students have been arrested. 5 have been arrested on charges of assault to do grievous bodily harm, and 5 have been arrested on charges of public violence. The students have indicated that they'll move in small groups from the campus here to the Bellville Magistrates Court, where they will be in support of those 10 arrested students.
Vanessa, any word from management, as we understand that the exams have been postponed to the 1st of December? Is this still the case?
Yes, this is still the case. Professor Tyrone Pretorius this morning saying that they will meet with academics and university management today to plan and plot out a way forward so that the final assessments can be completed, so that this academic year does not go to waste. At this stage, the university has, however, postponed the exams by a week, which is due to start next week. The exams are scheduled to have taken place yesterday.
Vanessa, thank you so much for that update. We'll come to you a little bit later to find out what is happening there. That was Vanessa Puna, our reporter on the scene in Cape Town. Now, Eben Janssen is standing by with more in-depth interviews and analysis. Over to you, Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much, Salvis. Now, the current drought that hit South Africa has come as a blessing to the Kruger National Park. The South African National Park spokesperson, Reynold Tlakuli, says the drought helps to get rid of excess numbers of certain species there. Impalas being the best example. Another benefit is that only the strongest animals survive, and such droughts ensures that, well, the gene pools stay healthy. The downside, he says, is that dams are now drying up and rivers are running very, very low. The flow in the Crocodile and Letaba rivers have stopped, which might have serious economic concerns as well. For the latest on how the drought is playing out in the Kruger National Park, we are joined live by our very own reporter, Mweli Masilela. He is with the spokesperson of the Kruger National Park, William Mabasa. Very good morning to you, Mweli. Before you do the interview, just set the scene for us there in the Kruger National Park.
Good morning to you. I must say that we are coming live to you from the Kruger National Park. Just behind me, you can see that there's a number of tourists visiting the park. We spoke to some of them saying that they are very concerned about the droughts that is currently happening in different parts of the country, but mainly within the park, because you'll know that the wildlife is also a matter of concern in terms of the heat wave that is continuing. I can tell you today temperatures here are at a high of 39 39 degrees Celsius. And yesterday it was even worse because it was 43 degrees Celsius. But to tell us more, we've got authorities of the Kruger National Park here. With me is the science manager of the Kruger National Park, Isaac Smith, and also the spokesperson of the Kruger National Park, Mr. William Mabasa. But we'll start with Isaac as the science manager. He's a specialist on some of the things here. Can you tell us, is the Kruger National Park experiencing a drought?
Yes, good morning. Yes, we are going through a very dry period. During the past rainfall season, we've only received about 70% of the long-term average, so 30% less rain than normal. So we are experiencing a drought. You can see it when you drive around. You can see behind us here the levels of the river is dropping. The dams are drying up and so forth. But they're also predicting, the seasonal long-term prediction is that we are actually heading for a very dry and hot summer. As you've just mentioned, it's quite hot out here. So we're expecting that the drought will continue and that it will become more extreme actually in the next couple of months.
One person would ask himself or herself that how is this drought exactly affecting the Kruger National Park?
Yes, I think we need to firstly mention that Kruger National Park is not an island. Kruger National Park falls within the bigger bioregion of the area. So it's not just about Kruger National Park, it's also about our neighboring communities where a lot of our staff come from, the commercial and the subsistence farming outside of the park. So we've got a lot of empathy also for our neighboring communities within which Kruger is embedded. But within Kruger, within a natural system like Kruger, droughts are a natural phenomena. It's something that we experience from time to time. If you look at the long-term history of rainfall in the park, it's something that comes and it's something that goes. So and not all of the effects of droughts are bad. I think that's surprising for people, but it's actually got a very important natural regulating effect in these large open systems. One of the big concerns for us, I would say, is our river systems. All our river systems, all our perennial river systems originate outside of the park. So we get less water and the quality of the water deteriorates quite a lot during droughts. But we do have people that are actively involved with the catchment management agencies and with the water user associations, where we actually are in constant contact with people outside of the park for dam releases and restrictions on irrigation and so forth, to make sure that everyone along the river actually get their share of the water.
The biggest concern also will be on the side of the wildlife. Which animals may be affected the most in this kind of condition?
Yes, I think that's always a big concern for tourists. It's never nice to see animals suffering and dying. But to maybe just put it into context, I think some of the viewers might actually be surprised to know that certain species do better under dry conditions. Your predators, for example, there's lots of food and it's easier to catch the food. Your vultures, etc., do better. Even some of your short grass grazers like blue wildebeest and zebra. But then, of course, there's a lot of species that their numbers would actually decline and there would be mortalities. Buffalo is a good example of one of the species that are particularly prone to dry periods and where you get quite a lot of mortalities. But again, if you look at the long-term data sets for Kruger, for the buffalo, for example, during the 91-92 drought, which was our previous very extreme drought, where we only had 44% of our long-term rainfall, the buffalo number dropped from 30,000 to 14,000 just within 2 years, which is an extreme event, and people were quite concerned. But a little bit more than a decade later, we're close to 40,000 buffalo. So we've got these natural patterns of rain going up and down, animal numbers fluctuate to go up and down as well. And we shouldn't just see the immediate conditions, we should see it in a longer term perspective as well. So the animals respond differently to a drought.
Now let's come to the spokesperson of the Kruger National Park. I'm sure under these conditions there should be some measures that are already in place and maybe preparing also for harsher conditions.
Of course, like Dr. Smith have said, we've already put restriction on water usage in all our parks, our camps and villages inside the park, but we're also using some measures to make sure that we do have contingency plans in place in case these rivers, ultimately get dry. We should be able to continue to supply water to the tourists and to people who are staying inside the park.
Maybe should tourists be worried under this situation?
No, tourists should not be worried. Tourists, of course, will be worried because animals will die, like Dr. Smith said, and we don't want to drive around the park and everywhere, it's thinking of dead animals. That is the worry that they should have. But in terms of service, we'll continue to provide the service that we're providing at the moment. The contingency plans that I'm talking about in terms of water supply, we do have boreholes that we can use if these rivers go dry and we cannot be able to pump water for human consumption.
Well, you've heard it from the Kruger Park authorities. With me here was Isaac Smith, the science manager at the Kruger National Park and also the spokesperson of the Kruger National Park, telling us that the conditions indeed are of great concern, but there are measures that have been put in place to sort of make sure that the situation doesn't get worse. Back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Mweli Masilela, coming to live from the Kruger National Park. You were speaking to the spokesperson then. They say it's not so bad for the animals, but, in light of recent heat waves and drought here in South Africa, people have resorted to many different ways of coming to terms with it, such as staying indoors. Air conditioning is on full whack, it seems, in cars, in homes, all over. Animals, on the other hand, don't have it so easy. They don't have the technological advances that we have, and they have to resort to different ways to staying cool. Now, Tsietse Monari is here with me today to talk about what are the strategies that animals use to survive the persistent heat, the lack of water, and so forth. Which are the animals, in your opinion, that do better during this period?
Well, it's actually quite interesting, all of these things that they have to do. You know about the lizards and all of that actually absorb heat for when it's cooler and actually can regulate their body heat and so on. But then we came across one really interesting one, actually. It's called the African pixie frog.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah, there's a picture of the African pixie frog. So this big green bulgy thing.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
And what it does, it actually creates basically a coffin. It creates this mucus little membrane, and it digs just underground for about 6 inches or so. And it can actually stay in hibernation there for about 7 years. So what makes it aware that it's not as dry anymore is when it rains on it. When it actually rains, the mucus actually becomes softer and it eventually breaks open. And same can be applied to the South African lungfish. I don't know if you've ever seen a South African lungfish. I think we have a picture as well. I'm not sure if I can put it up.
Yeah, I can't say that I know that. Is this that's the lungfish on screen there?
Yeah, that ugly looking thing,
Yeah?
It actually has the same sort of strategy, and it basically covers itself and just goes to sleep for
Is this a freshwater fish?
Yeah.
Okay, so when the rivers dry up,
yeah, and it happens quite a lot. Then they survive also just underneath sort of muddy kind of environments, when there's just a tiny little bit of water that is left there. But then there's plenty others all over the world. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we don't really get such extreme weathers in the sense that, desert conditions where you get a lot of animals with special hoofs with a little bit of fur underneath to protect them from the heat, because air temperatures could be around 47 degrees, but surface temperatures on the ground could go as high as 50 to even 60 degrees Celsius. So they need specialized hooves to survive, and also to walk in sand that it does not sink deep into the sand burrows, because the sand can become actually very hot.
During this time, though, you saying we shouldn't be too concerned about the wildlife, because they will adapt. They will adapt to these conditions, and let's call it the strong will survive. Yeah,
it's basically what the interview just before this, they said that, the numbers of wildlife go up and down, and which is needed, because the natural carrying capacity cannot stay the same all the time. It has to balance itself out. And droughts like this actually curb the numbers sometimes, and most of the times maybe it takes too many at a time, but then after a while they will rebuild again as soon as the rains come in, and then once all the plants, the vegetation is all green and we're back to normal, and most of the animals can then reproduce and get larger numbers again back up.
What about migration? Yeah, we see a picture of migration patterns. How does this affect migration patterns of animals, for instance.
This is also quite an important one, even if you think about the wildebeest that we just saw now. There's a big migration between Kenya and Tanzania, where they move from Kenya and go to Tanzania.
Masai Mara.
Yeah, Masai Mara, exactly. Wow. Just between July and October because of the rainy season. But the last 2 years, there hasn't been that much. And some of the rangers and Masai Mara managers have been saying that, we haven't seen a lot of these wildebeest coming through. In fact, they're staying in Kenya, which is quite, a big impact in a sense of natural habitat now being depleted in Kenya and nothing much happening in Tanzania.
Yeah.
And also, with migration comes reproduction, because these mix in and they meet with other ones and also provide food for other animals. If you think about crocodiles in the sea, listen to
in the Mara River.
Yes, in the rivers and so on. They, now they're not getting food. That also affects the natural food chain, and it can actually be a big effect on wildlife.
And here in South Africa, the areas that you have concerns about, where are they, or as you say, it's not something that we should be too concerned about?
For me, it's mostly the natural habitat, especially for bird life and also for other unique species that we have here. If you consider the Big Five, which is also really affected by the availability of water. Without water, I mean, there can't be enough green, so it can't be enough food for most of the animals, and they will suffer quite a lot. And you heard as well with the Kruger National Park, it's not just the Kruger National Park, it's not just our game reserves that we need to be concerned about. If you think about what's happening in the Northern Cape, but the Grabis waterfalls also almost running dry. I mean, it supplies a lot of water for plant life as well as animal life, and that is a big concern for me. Our wetlands are also drying out, which is a big thing when it comes to recycling and refreshing our natural water sources.
Talking about Smangaliso and Ezemvelo.
Exactly. When those dry up, we have a lot of toxins now in our soils, in our vegetation, and that has also a negative impact on our animals that depend on those wetlands.
Well, Tsietse, thank you very much for giving us a little insight into where the problem areas are with regards to the ongoing drought. Let's hope when he comes back a little bit later to give us a weather update, he'll tell us that it's going to rain. It nearly rained last night.
It nearly did. We had about a teaspoonful of water that came from the sky. What I think happened is it rained quite a lot in the sky, and then it just evaporated again because of the heat.
Because of the heat,
but we had some strong winds as well. It was actually quite promising. I mean, this weekend, even if it does not happen, then I'll know we are not doing anything right. Something is really, really wrong. But good promise, and the rain is coming through.
When the weatherman is resorting to prayer, then we are in trouble. So everybody, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with us at the end of the hour to give you a complete update as to what the outlook is for today, but also into the weekend with regards to the much-needed rain. Now, of course, there's another story that's very much in the news right now. It's that several students have been arrested at the University of the Western Cape during demonstrations at the campus there. Yesterday, authorities have reported extensive damage to property after some buildings were vandalized by protesting students who are dissatisfied about what they say is a number of unresolved issues there. You see those pictures from yesterday. Of course, tires have been burnt, rubber bullets have been fired. It's been ongoing clashes there. Lots of different views on social media. Let's just have a look what people are talking about. Tabu says, yes, disruption can be a force for social change, but can it all happen in a structured and disciplined manner? Talking about the UWC shutdown. Then Marche Arends talks about reason for more protests at UWC. Council refuses to recognize agreements the rector made with Fees Must Fall campaign. Then Perry Mayonnaise talks about everyone at UWC protesting. Please keep safe, look out for your friends, and drink enough water. Then Nangamso talks about was climbing over fences with women who are over the age of 40 today. That's when I knew it was real. Talking about the lucky star. We lack empathy, shame. My thoughts and prayers are with the students. Now, of course, we've asked you a question of the day. The question of the day relates directly to this. Here it is. Has the hashtag Fees Must Fall campaign been hijacked by criminality? That's a legitimate question. We ask you, send us your views. We'll put it up a little bit later. It will be a discussion for the rest of the day. Now, let's move on to the picture of the day. This one comes from Black Nerd Rage. It's captioned, when historically poor urban planning meets an ever-growing labour migration. Of course, this was the shack fires that we saw in Johannesburg yesterday and overnight. Let's move further afield now and take a look at the front pages from around the globe. We start in Europe. The Times reports that George Osborne is attempting to strip control of a £40 billion programme to build 4 nuclear-armed submarines from the Defence Ministry in that country. Then, in New York, the International New York Times reports that a South African judge yesterday sentenced 8 former police officers to prison for the murder of a taxi driver from Mozambique who was handcuffed to the back of a police van, dragged for about a third of a mile, they report, and then placed in the police holding cell where he was, beaten to death. This is according to the International New York Times. Then, the Jerusalem Post says security forces entered Al-Ahli Hospital. Well, seems like we've missed that one, unfortunately. Let's move on and take a look at what's happening around the country today. We start in Polokwane, where a Limpopo father accused of slitting his 4 sons' throats is expected to appear in the Makgatle periodic court there. The accused allegedly killed his son. They were aged 4, 6, 10 and 13 after he had an argument with his wife. Then we moved to Bloemfontein, where the Danish man that was arrested last month after female genitalia were found in his freezer was to appear in the magistrate's court for a bail application. 63-year-old Peter Fredrickson is facing 4 charges of sexual assault and assault with the intention to do grievous bodily harm, possession and production of child pornography, and the removal of human tissue. Then, in Cape Town, the Equality Court sitting in Stellenbosch is expected to hear a case involving black parents and a school in the town after their son was denied placement, allegedly because of his race, they claim. That'll be an interesting story. Time for us to take a break now. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News.
This is the first time we've ever been on holiday. I wanted it to be special. This holiday has brought a lot of things to us. It's made us closer and love each other more.
Welcome back. Environmental group Greenpeace has called on South Africans to start putting pressure on government to take climate change more seriously and invest in renewable energy. This as El Niño weather conditions affect many parts of the country, causing what is a severe drought. Some provinces have been declared disaster areas and water restrictions have been implemented. Now, for more on Greenpeace's response to the drought situation in the country, I was joined in studio by Melita Steele. She's the Senior Climate and Energy Campaign Manager at Greenpeace. A very good morning to you and thank you for being with us.
Morning.
We're seeming to be at the effect of climate change right now in South Africa. Are we doing enough? Are we taking it seriously enough overall, the effect that climate change is having, but also going to have in South Africa in the future?
I think part of the problem is that long-term thinking is always a challenge, and so it's always been, okay, but climate change is going to become a problem. But the reality is that climate change is already a problem, and we're in the middle of a drought, as you said, and it's only going to get worse. So what climate change comes with is a lot of unpredictability and a lot of extremes. So extreme weather, extreme sea level rises. And so in terms of are we doing enough, the South African government is very good at talking internationally about how much climate change is important and we need to act on it. But domestically, South Africa is building 2 of the biggest coal-fired power stations in the world, and new private coal-fired power stations are being planned. So no, as far as Greenpeace is concerned, because burning fossil fuels drives climate change, we cannot be expanding coal in South Africa and be saying that we're taking climate change seriously.
With the kind of pressures that have been on our grid, what would you have liked to see happen alternatively? The investment in solar and wind energy, could that have been the magic pill that would have sorted out this electricity mess we found ourselves in?
So interestingly enough, renewable energy projects are already starting to come online, and in fact they're creating a bit of a buffer which is avoiding the worst of the load shedding. So as far as Greenpeace is concerned, every household in this country could be producing their own electricity.
Yeah.
We should be able to install our own solar panels and feed extra electricity into the grid and get paid for it. That's not happening at the moment. The legal framework doesn't exist. So as far as renewable energy is concerned, there is huge potential, and we have some of the best renewable resources in the world. Greenpeace believes we could be getting 100% of our electricity from renewable energy by as early as 2050.
Why isn't it happening then?
Well, the barriers to renewable energy are there, and so a lot of it is, do people believe that renewable energy can work? And international experience is showing that renewable energy can and does work, that it's not a future technology, it's a current technology. And then it's sort of government vested, there are vested interests in terms of coal and nuclear, and then it's also the government's ambition in terms of renewable energy. So we're saying our targets in terms of renewable energy need to be significantly increased.
The drought situation right now, the heat waves that we're suffering from, what are the implications in your opinion at Greenpeace if this crisis kind of escalates? The outlook says we're not going to have a lot of rain this year and well into next year.
So I think we're in the middle of the extremes. So last year, I don't know if you remember, but we had extreme rainfall.
Yes.
And in fact, the South African Weather Services
for most of the last decade almost, we've had lots and lots of rain here.
Yes.
It's almost felt a little bit tropical here on the high veld for the last decade or so.
And in fact, the South African Weather Services attributed the extreme rainfall last year to climate change. And so what we're going to see is increasing extremes. The average temperature in Gauteng for this time of year is around 24, 25.
Yeah.
We're now 10 degrees above that. So that is not a new normal that we want to adjust to.
Yes.
And people are really susceptible to heat waves. So young children, old people. The reality
animals,
is... Yes.
Everybody's... heat is much worse than rain is. But quickly now, COP21, do you have your hopes up for a deal? And what would you like South Africa to take to COP21?
So I think there will be a deal signed in Paris, and I'm putting my head on the line for that. But the question is, will it be ambitious enough? We can't afford to say, oh, but we're acting on climate change, but not to be doing enough. So Greenpeace would like to see that we're not locking in low levels of ambition, so we're only agreeing to 5-year periods, but also that there are ambitious renewable energy targets included in the agreement. So South Africa has already put in what the government plans to do around climate change. And Greenpeace believes that it's not quite ambitious enough.
In your view, how far are we behind the 8 ball on this rock we call home?
You know, South Africa could become a climate leader. We really could be taking the forefront. India has been announcing massive renewable energy targets. And South Africa and the African continent could be leapfrogging dirty development. But the time is now. We have to take action now. And South Africans should be applying pressure and asking the government and local governments to support renewable energy.
Melita, thank you for joining us. Melita Steele is the Senior Climate and Energy Campaign Manager at Greenpeace, and they want us to invest more in renewable energy sources, seeing that we are one of the best locations on the planet for that. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, of course, Parliament yesterday obtained a new court interdict against striking staff. These pictures that you are seeing here, they are coming to you live from Parliament. Now, that interdict was prohibiting them from continuing their 3-day strike and disrupting the business of the legislature. Doesn't really look like it's gone down very well. These live pictures are coming to you from Parliament, of course, where Nahawu members, they are unhappy with a whole host of conditions, working conditions, including bonuses and the like. So they're continuing their protests right now in Cape Town. Of course, yesterday, police dragged away several protesters in handcuffs. We saw stun grenades and tear gas being fired at the parliamentary precinct there in Cape Town. These live pictures are coming to you. It looks like it could be another interesting day. Yesterday, of course, a similar protest turned quite violent with police intervening and, of course, arresting several members of Nahawu and workers at the parliamentary buildings. Let's have a look at what the comments are, what people are saying. Now, Kolani Ngwekazi says Parliament are at Nahawu's demands unreasonable. I don't think so. Pay workers what they deserve. Finish and clear, says Kolani. Then Stembiso talks about the police attacked members of Nahawu, a union affiliated with COSATU, the latter being 1/3 of the tripartite alliance. Yeah, says Stembiso. Then Spilele says, Nahawu members in Pali showed us that the SA Police Service stun grenades are nothing but only loud noise and colourful smoke. Yes, those were interesting pictures that we saw yesterday. Then Mokhalakadi Ngibisa says Nahawu is part of the tripartite alliance, not necessary for protest. They can engage at Letuli House and sort their issues out. Yeah, that's a different scenario. Of course, these are the pictures live. It's a jovial mood, jovial protesting mood going on outside Parliament. That's actually in the parliamentary precinct where workers have been protesting for most of this week. They're not very, very happy with their working conditions. Of course, more money. Everybody wants more money, don't we? We all believe we deserve a little bit more. A living wage, that's what it's about. But let's move on and take a look at what's on Newsroom's Facebook page today. South African Police Union has welcomed the sentencing of 8 former police officers convicted of murdering Mozambican taxi driver Mido Masia. Then heads of state of Southern African Custom Union members will be meeting today with hopes to reinvigorate and strengthen the struggling organization. And the United Nations chief has warned against proposed cuts in development assistance from some of the world's wealthiest countries, primarily over the refugee crisis facing large parts of Europe. Time for another break. Newsroom will be back with you shortly.
The road to greatness is not an easy one. It's rough, tough, and full of barriers. And there's only one way to master it. Never, ever stop. Dauntless, the all-new Audi Q7.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom now. With South Africa's water crisis in the spotlight, there's another water dilemma staring everyone in the country in the face. The quality of our water has been questioned by renowned water expert Dr. Anthony Turton in the At Liberty report that was released by the Institute of Race Relations this week. Now, on Monday, we were joined here in studio by Turton, who says sewage spills are the most serious of the many problems in the water sector. This as poorly functioning wastewater treatment plants are spewing close to 4 billion litres of untreated or partially treated sewage into the country's dams and rivers every single day. Now, earlier, we were joined via Skype from Washington, D.C. in the United States by a principal scientist from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. His name is Dr. Marius Klaassen. We asked him why South Africa is struggling with sewage spills.
I think we have to take this back maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, in terms of priorities that the country is facing. There's so many different things that needed to happen in the last 20 years. We're talking about housing, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about jobs. And sewage treatment was just one of those topics that wasn't so popular at the time, and we just didn't pay enough attention to that in terms of the maintenance of our treatment systems.
Now, the IRR's report talks about nothing being done to remove toxins from a number of our major dams. Do you agree with this? Is it true?
Yeah, I think it's not a question of removing toxins from our major dams, but preventing any toxic substances from entering the dams in the first place. And there's multiple sources of that, and I think many of those have been raised in the media recently. We're talking about sewage that also contains chemicals that could be harmful, but we're talking also about acid mine drainage, we're talking about industrial effluents, agricultural products. So there's such a broad range of products that could potentially be harmful that could enter our water systems that we really need a concerted effort to make sure that they actually don't get there in the first place.
Now taking into account that right now we're sitting with heat waves, severe drought, water crisis, what are the health risks and dangers that this poses?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we refer to wastewater treatment or sewage treatment, and I think that is one of the main issues that we should be concerned about at the moment is when we have interruptions in people's water supply. People would actually go to rivers or surface water sources and collect water for use. Now, that water is not often safe. If we have water that is contaminated by poorly treated sewage, I'd say one needs to have at least primary treatment of that water, either through boiling or through chlorination. So I think just right at this moment where people have interrupted supplies, there's certainly a risk that people would be using water that is not properly treated.
Is there a risk that the water in our dams could at some point become unusable, or some of it become unusable?
Yeah, most definitely there's a possibility of that. I think, and let me just take one step back to say that the water that we're being supplied with, both in terms of our metropolitan areas, but also in terms of our smaller municipalities, all of that is being treated before we actually get that water to use. So even though there would be contaminants in our dams, in our river systems, the water that we actually receive would be treated. I would just like to add to that, in terms of our metropolitan areas, Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town, all the big metropolitan areas, our treatment systems are really world-class in those areas, and the water that we get there would always be safe to use. In terms of our more smaller municipalities, there are some challenges there in terms of treating water to the same to the same standards, and I think that's also an issue that needs to be addressed.
The current water crisis that we're suffering with, what would your advice be to lawmakers, to the public around dealing with this crisis right now?
Yeah, I mean, in answering that, I'd really like to start with the public because I think everybody can play a role in alleviating this issue because the way that we use water oftentimes it's wasteful, and I think every individual have both the possibility but also the responsibility to use water wisely. So that is on the demand side. You're talking about policymakers. For me, the most important thing at the moment in terms of the water sector is in terms of implementing our regulations. So we need to make sure that people use water responsibly. We need to make sure that people don't pollute water unnecessarily. So it's about implementing our regulations, and I think there's a lot of work that we can do in making sure that our water resources are protected. And then perhaps the third thing is also from a maybe a municipal perspective, is to make sure that our water systems are maintained, because we have so many leakages in our water systems. We're losing so much water, and also, as we've said earlier, particularly our wastewater treatment systems are not being maintained. So for me, that's the three things: is the end users being responsible, and then also the last issue that I mentioned in terms of maintaining our systems.
Dr. Claassen, I thank you for joining us and giving us your views, of course, on this. That is Dr. Marius Claassen. He's a principal scientist from the CSIR, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research here in South Africa. Yeah, I was talking to him a little bit earlier this morning via Skype. We recorded that one because he's in Washington, D.C. Interesting views that he brought to the fore around the water crisis as it's now known here in South Africa. Yes, the drought has begun to really take hold of the country's most precious resource, water shortages. We've seen the negative effects on agriculture, wildlife, schools, hospital and business. But a South African-based company say they have the solution. Water from Air has created a mobile machine that sucks in air on the one side, cools it down, and then uses the condensation to create filtered mineralized water. Now, to tell us more about this is the founder of Water from Air, Ray de Vries. Ray is with us here. Very good morning to you, Ray.
Morning, how's it?
Very good today, but a little bit dry.
Absolutely.
Before we talk about the machine, I mean, you've been on the show before, and we've spoken at length about this wonderful this wonderful innovation you have. You've now, with the machine, been traveling around the country a little bit, and you've sort of been at the cold face of this water crisis a little bit. So just tell me, what have you seen, and what are people saying?
First of all, thanks for being on the show. But first of all, it's not a crisis. It's not a crisis. It's nowhere near a crisis. It's a catastrophe. And it's happening right now, right under our noses. And we've got to hit a major wake-up. As I came into the studio now, Brixton Tower's got no water. Melville is having water shedding. The whole of the South Coast is off for saltwater. The whole of the North Coast is off. And we're twiddling our thumbs how we're going to water our gardens or fill the swimming pool. It's a life and death situation, and it's not overdoing it. It is.
Now, for those that don't, let's talk about Water from Air quickly, because you say that you've got a solution. Tell us how the mobile water creating machine that you've built, how does it work?
Okay, they're static and they're mobile. Right from, you can have one in your home, a 32-litre up to 32-litre. And we're selling about 20 or 30 of those a day going around South Africa. That's how serious the crisis is at the moment.
Yeah.
And that goes up to 1,500 litres per 24 hours. The 1,500 litres per 24 hours comes static or mobile. And you literally plug it in, it sucks in the air, cools the air down. The condensation goes into an ultraviolet environment, no chemicals or chlorine, goes through filtration, remineralized, press button, drinking yesterday's humidity. That's how simple it is. 1,000 of those machines would have enough water for 1 million South Africans. And we can be up and running. We're up and running anyway, but we can enlarge our facilities to within 5 to 6 months from now to make sure that happens. And we better do something quickly.
One never wants to profit from misery or other people's misfortune, but business must have expanded quite a bit in the last month or so on the back of this water crisis. Yeah, you see the Water from Air solution, but tell us about the expansion that you're going through a little bit now.
The expansion, thank goodness we've got people that are helping us that have done sort of growth in the vertical, and that's what we've got now. We've got a 5,000 square metre factory. It's going up to 72,000 square metres. We've got that facility available. We've got the people available. We've got 300 jobs that we'll create right now. That's directly. Another about 600 jobs that we'll create in a category that's not there. This is not a business that we're stealing from somebody else. So we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, as it were.
Yeah. So you're not taking out of the existing water network.
Yeah.
It's complementing completely to it, and it's almost an infinite resource, isn't it?
Absolutely. Some people ask, and it's a very good question, does it dry the air out so there won't be rain? The hydrological cycle is basically the water comes in and the water goes out, goes back into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
All we're doing is making rain while the sun shines.
Now, how big can you go with this? We see in agriculture the farmers are really at the effect of this. Can you make the machine even to a bigger scale? Do you have plans to increase the scale of it? And do you think it could solve the problems of some farmers?
Yes, it can solve the problems without a doubt, and it is. This is not a concept. We're in process. We're doing it all day, every day. And it's quite frustrating to be sending machines out of the country. We've got one on its way to Hanover right now, to the agriculture show in Europe. Guys are buying there. Government needs to step in here in South Africa. We need to be selling to our brothers and sisters in South Africa.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I don't say that loosely or from some cheap sales.
You're talking about the rest of the continent.
Yeah, the rest of the continent. You know, every litre of water that we have from the air, there's a litre of water that's left in the water resources for South Africans, poor South Africans that can't afford a machine like this. You know, an entry-level machine is 25,000 Rand excluding VAT. We're now delivering them within 72 hours anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help the guy that's living on the breadline that's out there looking for 1 cup of water today.
That 25,000 Rand machine that you're talking about, how much water can it make per day?
That's up to 32 litres per day. We've adapted that. Your humidity here today is 10%, which is hectically low.
Yeah.
I was listening to Melita earlier from Greenpeace, and she was talking about the average temperature. The temperature is 10 degrees above what it normally is now.
Yeah.
The humidity fell dramatically, and then it shoots up to 90% all of a sudden here. So it's not at all, it's not sustainable up here. So we have a solution for that, where we can tap water into the machine, and it goes through exactly the same filtration and sanitization process as does the water from air. So that is to supplement when the humidity is low.
Yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with water, we're dealing with now. We can't put the water off till the day after tomorrow. It's sustainable, and it's pure. And Dr. Turton was talking, or Professor Turton was talking there about the purity of water, and he's absolutely 100% on the money.
Yeah.
The purity of the water that we have got is shocking. We've got a solution for that, and we're doing it.
Well, Bray, it's a fantastic solution. It's a South African product, and long may it continue. Fantastic work. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's Ray de Vries. He's the founder of Water from Air. It's a fantastic, there you actually see it behind me, a mobile water-making solution. Well, the Gauteng and City of Joburg officials are working with aid organizations to now assist the 300 displaced families at the Msawa informal settlement. Yesterday, fire destroyed shacks which were built near Kaya Sands, north of Johannesburg. Here you see some of the remnants of what was a devastating fire. Some families losing most of their possessions during this fire. Fire services battled for most of the day to try and get the blaze under control there. Of course, lots of support for families on social media. Just quickly say, have a look at what people are talking about on social media with regards to this crisis. Do we have the comments, Johan? Yeah, let's take the comments. What are people saying? Kaya Sands, Diepsloot and others cannot remain in their current form, says Zakes. Then, Zakes again, why do we have shacks? Why is municipality providing services water in informal settlements? Who approves these plans, asks Zakes. That's a very good question. Then, Matebo Masamola says, every year there's a fire that ravages shacks in Kaya Sands. Why is nothing being done to avert the fires? There you see some of the pictures incoming. Well, there's a business in Cape Town that makes fireproof paint that you can spray on the shacks that will make sure that they don't go up in flames. Gift to the Givers are there. They are on site. Gift to the Givers are saying they're on site helping those families during this hour of need. Now, of course, the question we ask you today is a question close to the hearts and minds of many South Africans right now. Has the Fees Must Fall campaign been hijacked by criminality? We see campuses almost look like they are on fire, like war zones a little bit. What is your view on it? Please send us your tweets. We'd like to put it up a little bit later and have a discussion forum around this, the issues that we're having on some of our campuses here in South Africa. Now, the interior of South Africa have been warned of another extremely hot and dry week ahead. The Weather Service has issued a warning of persistently high temperatures in Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga and the northwest. Temperatures will soar well above 40 degrees in some areas. Now, Tsietsi Monari was with us a little bit earlier. He's back to give us a weather update, and hopefully he'll tell us it will rain tomorrow, Tsietsi.
Yeah, I actually hope it does. It's Friday the 13th tomorrow, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully it comes with good rain. Yeah, I'll tell you that in just a short while. Okay, welcome from the weather desk once again. Let's have a look at this weather. So it looks like we're expecting up to 60% chance of showers, thunder showers, in fact, towards the eastern side of South Africa and along the coastal regions. Some of it will be moving towards the northwest province. We're expecting up to a 30% chance of rain along those parts. Otherwise, clear skies are expected for much of the west, the central part, as well as over Madagascar. Possibilities of some weather systems coming in just along the Indian Ocean then, and hopefully that will be bringing rain up until the weekend towards KwaZulu-Natal, spreading further north for the northwest province and into the southern part of Botswana, which is also one of the severely affected places when it comes to drought. The felt fires that we're seeing for today, we're expecting those in the northwest province as well as over the Free State. And not only does it cause felt fires, but also it's associated with a heat wave, which is going to lead to temperatures being significantly high in some areas. You'll see lower 40s are expected in places such as Lephalale as well as over Tabazimbi, including Northam. The capital the city of South Africa is at around 39 degrees, quite a scorcher. And what's also really difficult to deal with is the fact that the minimum temperatures are also expected to be so high. Pretoria, in fact, will start off at around 24 degrees. And you'll see 22 is the maximum for Cape Town, so that's the hottest it will be. The coolest it will be in Pretoria is even hotter than the hottest it will be in Cape Town. So temperatures are really affecting us in a negative way over the northern part. If you're going to be outdoors for long periods, please make sure you are hydrated and wear protective gear and also have your sunscreen to make sure that you're not affected by direct sunlight. Temperatures for Mariental at 36 degrees, hot weather towards the northern part of Namibia. We're seeing those upper 30s for Oshakati, Tsumeb, Rundu, including Grootfontein, over Botswana as well. Do expect similar conditions as temperatures go as high as around 42 degrees towards Maun. 41 for Francistown, and then Serowe again. Yeah, temperatures here starting to pick up. Yesterday it was just around 38. Now it's at 39, going for 40. Those sunny skies in towards Zimbabwe. My big worry is that Victoria Falls also faces severe drought along those parts. So the falls might actually run dry. Bulawayo 37 degrees. Over the central regions, temperatures also going towards closer to record temperatures there. It's now at around 36 degrees. Tete, well, hot as usual, 42, so it's no surprise there. But Lichinga, which is usually into the lower 20s, is now into the upper 20s. Temperatures also picking up significantly along those parts. Maputo, 31, some cloud cover is expected there. There's a small chance of rain towards Manzini into Swaziland, and some of it will be trickling down towards Mpumalanga, and hopefully that actually happens over the weekend, as we're expecting up to 60% chance of rain for Johannesburg on Saturday and Sunday evening. Okay, that's where I'll leave it for the weather for now, but do stick around here in Newsroom, there'll be more.
Don't go away. Just want to ask you quickly. Yeah. I'm an avid gardener.
Mm-hmm.
I can't use my hose pipe right now.
Yeah,
my garden is very dry. How do I keep my plants alive?
You know the water that you normally would use to rinse your fruits or vegetables and so on? You can also actually capture that and use it into small flower pots or maybe outside as well. And also, if you want to go extreme, you can also reuse your bathtub water, or you can capture some of your shower water and actually reuse it.
Capture the shower water there. I didn't think of that. Thank you. Tsietsi Monari, always willing to give us a tip or two. We're going to take a short break. Elvis will be back at the top of the hour with an update.
Philips, we wake up every morning and ask, how can innovation make a difference to you? How can thousands of LEDs bring the pyramids to life and light up hearts? How can an air fryer make delicious traditional meals with up to 80% less fat? How can portable ultrasound be part of a program to help lower infant mortality in Uganda? Because the only innovation that really matters is innovation that matters to you. Innovation and you. Philips.
It's 10:00 hours Central Africa time on this Thursday, the 12th of November 2015. Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the second hour. This is Newsroom. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock. You have to stay with us as we broadcast live from Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. Let's first take a look at all your news headlines. "16 students of the University of the Western Cape will be appearing in the Bellville Magistrates Court later. Members of Trade Union Ahau in Parliament have gathered around the parliamentary precinct to forge ahead with their strike. And the government ministerial team will tomorrow brief the public about the water crisis in the country. Those are all your headlines, but before we get into it, let's first find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports field. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Elvis. Quite a lot has been happening on and off the sports field. In fact, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, everything that's been happening with WAD and IAAF. And good morning to you. So our very first story, though, is about this, and this is what's coming up in sports. Suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter, who's been in hospital since Friday last week, has suffered a small emotional breakdown, but still plans to appeal his suspension. This as Russian President Vladimir Putin orders an investigation into the WADA-related doping charges. Also, Mozambique and Zambia have won their first leg 2018 World Cup second round qualifiers. That in a nutshell is what we've got for you in the sports, right about 10:30 or so. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's now start off with your top story this hour. University of the Western Cape says it is horrified at the conduct of protesting students who have attacked fellow students and police. The students damaged property in the name of the Fees Must Fall campaign. The protesters disrupted end-of-year exams at the University of the Western Cape Bellville campus. They severely assaulted 4 security guards, shot at police with live ammunition, set several buildings alight and looted the cafeteria. Riot police were forced to call in reinforcements. Police then used stun grenades to disperse the protesters. 10 students have been arrested and exams have been postponed to the 1st of December. Now, police are monitoring the largely deserted campus of the University of the Western Cape this morning following violent protest yesterday. Now, this is what happened yesterday.
If you care about only stars here.
Eerie pictures there, as you can see. Now, earlier, our reporter Vanessa Puna spoke to the Vice-Chancellor of the University of the Western Cape, Tyrone Pretorius, and this is what he said about the postponement of the exams due to the protest.
As far as the exams are concerned, we're meeting with our faculties and our academics today to explore options around the completion of this year. The integrity of the academic project is at stake if we do not have the final assessments. And so we need to look at ways to ensure that the final assessments go ahead. And there will be various models that we're exploring. But we also need to understand what is the role of law enforcement in securing the campus. It cannot be said that it is entirely a university responsibility to protect and secure the campus. And so I'll be trying to meet with the regional police to understand in what way they can assist in securing and protecting the institution.
Now, for the latest on the story, we now cross to our reporter, Vanessa Puna, who is at the Bellville Magistrates Court. We understand, Vanessa, that the arrested students appearing in court this morning. Give us an update as to what is happening now.
Alice, yes, the latest information is that 16 students arrested during the violent protests on campus at UWC yesterday are due to appear here in Court G at the Bellville Magistrates Court a little later on this morning. 16 students in total, 11 of whom have been charged with malicious damage to property as well as public violence. And then 5 students, I've learned from the police spokespeople earlier this morning, charged with assault to grievous bodily harm. Now, we know that a number of paramedics as well as security officials were attacked during the rampage on campus yesterday, and we expect those students to make their first appearance here at the Bellville Magistrates Court a little later on. My colleague Lynn Orense is inside court. Apparently at this stage, not everybody is being granted access to that courtroom, so we do expect to get information from her coming out of proceedings due to take place a little later on this morning.
Now, earlier you were at the campus at UWC. Was it still very quiet when you left there, and what might happen today?
Elvis, yes, this morning at the campus all was relatively quiet. If I can say that the university resembled something of a ghost town, with just a police deployment as well as security officials maintaining a presence on campus in the event that violence does flare up there again. But before we left campus here to come to the Bellville Magistrates Court, we spoke to members of the Fees Must Fall campaign just outside the Chris Hani residence of UWC, complaining that the media is indeed misrepresenting, in their words, what exactly has taken place. They say they are being portrayed as hooligans, but that this is not the case. They've also alleged that security officials brought in by the university have sexually harassed students, and that police deployed to campus have also used hate speech, in particular the K word, in dealing with student protesters. So the students say, under the banner of Fees Must Fall, that they do agree that there have been looting of cafeterias, there has been couches and furniture set alight, but they vehemently deny that any attempts have been made to set the residences themselves alight. They're accusing university management of not giving them a hearing in terms of their request and their demands for historical debt to be written off at the university. Also, that a special council meeting must be called. They are accusing university management of only listening to the SRC and not the student body on its entirety, and also ignoring the plight and the pleas from the Fees Must Fall campaign.
Now, any word from management on the allegations of the students with regards to the security that has been brought in, the harassment that they're talking about?
At this stage, there hasn't been any confirmation or any response from the university at this stage. This allegation was made as we were leaving campus. We will get hold of management later on just to confirm whether any official report has been laid against these security officials, as is alleged by the students. But there has been no word from the university as to whether any official sort of complaint or action has been taken or laid by the students, who now claim that they are being sexually harassed and being called by the K word and hate speech by police officers. This hasn't been confirmed as yet, no.
Now, Vanessa, at court, I see a number of people entering the court there. Is this all supporters for the students that's been arrested? I dare say that not everybody who's entering this court behind me is in support or is part of the group that are supporting the students, but I do know that there is quite a number of students and also parents who have made their way inside the courtroom. My colleague has been keeping me updated with regards to developments there. Court G at this stage, also entrance there being monitored, because
all people coming into the courtroom could be accommodated due to space restrictions. So I'll be keeping close contact with my colleague Lynn, who will be telling me exactly what is transpiring inside Court G when these 16 students are due to appear here this morning.
Vanessa Puna, thank you so much for that update, and we'll find out from her a little bit later as to what is transpiring there. Thank you so much. Now, Parliament has obtained a second Labour court interdict against striking staff, prohibiting them from continuing their work stoppage and disrupting the business of the institution. Secretary of Parliament Gengezi Mgidlana says they have been forced to go to court following the conduct of staff belonging to the union NAHAO. Protesters yesterday forced staff to join protests as they interrupted committee meetings and clashed with police. Mgidlana says he'll discuss the terms of the interdict with NAHAO representatives. Workers started protesting on Friday over the issue of performance bonuses, which they want revisited, even though they have already signed an agreement. Now, for an update on this issue, we cross to our reporter, Bulelani Philip, who has been following the story in Parliament. Bulelani, a very good morning. Can you give us an update to what is happening currently in Parliament?
Good morning to you, Elvis, and to the viewers. As you can hear behind me, there's still no turning back from these striking parliamentary staff, and the strike now has entered its fourth day, and they're saying that they are going to continue to intensify their strike up until their demands are met. Of course, yesterday we had scenes of violence and scuffles between the police and these striking workers. Also, there was an interdict that was sought by Parliament yesterday to prohibit them from striking within the precinct of Parliament. But of course, both those things haven't deterred them from continuing their strike here in the precinct of Parliament. They've been gathering here since about 8 o'clock and getting some reports from some of their leaders with regards to the negotiations that happened late last night with the management of Parliament. And still, the deadlock is still ongoing. We do understand again that they should be meeting at about 11 o'clock this morning. Just for the record, we did ask Parliament to give us somebody to just give us or unpack what is the stalemate about at the moment. But of course, they felt that, given the location where we are broadcasting from, that it would inflame, the emotions of these striking workers. But joining me now to take us through what is the situation at the moment is the chairperson of NAHAO here in Parliament, Mr. Stembi Sotembe, who now joins me here. Mr. Tembe, last night you met with the management. Were there any breakthroughs?
No breakthrough yet. They said we'll meet again today because they still want to consult with their employers. So when we meet, the decision was that we'll meet at 10, but we've just been told that we'll meet at 11 now.
And what are still some of the stumbling blocks in the negotiation?
Because they don't want to give us what we want. They know what we want exactly. But also it was disappointing that when we're on the verge of this discussion, the Secretary to Parliament once again went to conduct media conference to mislead the public. One of the issues that he raised, which, are not true, is that the other agreement that we signed in March is an addendum of the agreement that we signed in June. Now, how can you, in your good state of mind, say that? Because an earlier agreement cannot be an addendum of the later agreement. The agreement that we are speaking about is the one that we signed in March, which spoke about conditions of service, which spoke about the process to pay the performance bonuses, which should be paid based on the total package. Now, I went there to mislead the public. What he's saying is not true, because on the March agreement, there is nothing that speaks about 2 years. It's only the June agreement which speaks about 2 years, but also in particular the percentage of salary increase, not the conditions of service and the performance bonus. Secondly, yesterday they misled the nation again because they were saying they have got interdict, the 2010 interdict, which when we clarified the issue now, they went to court to apply for another interdict, which means they misled the nation again because there was no such. So the police that came to beat the workers here in Parliament, they beat the workers on the basis of illegal interdict, which never existed. Therefore, the conduct of the police and the conduct of the management is illegal. So we are saying, we are prepared to engage with the management of Parliament, but, it seems as if some of them are pathological liars, and we are not prepared to engage with liars. They must make sure that they are honest in their approach because they know what we want. We did not sign, the agreement that we signed in March is not speaking about a 2-year. It speaks about the payment of performance bonuses and the issue of condition of service. They must be honest with that. But we're continuing with our protest action up until our demands are met.
Now, lastly, I mean, you're seemingly receiving a lot of support from other, branches of NEHAWU. As well, you also told the workers earlier on this morning that there are some programs of Parliament that have been disrupted. Just with regards to your assessment, how has the damage or the disruptions been to the operations of Parliament?
Well, I think we are doing very well. In fact, our objection is not to disrupt, but we say Parliament cannot operate as normal when we have got these grievances. Yesterday, we were said by including members of the opposition who came to our rescue when police were beating us there. Now, we appreciate that. We want to appreciate that support that we got from all political parties that came to our rescue. But the program that has been postponed until further notice is the issue of the taking Parliament to the people, the report back. It is not going to continue, which was supposed to start very soon. It's not continuing. Now, other committees, there are disruptions because our interpreters are not there. And also the researchers and content advisors, committee secretaries are not there. So therefore, we are doing very well. We are happy about that. But then the support that we are getting is tremendous. We got support from COSAT, National Head Office. We are getting support from the provinces, KZN, Western Cape, provincial legislatures, Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga and Gauteng. They have sent their support. They will also conduct some activities in solidarity with us. So we're happy about the support that we're getting. Today we're expecting the president of NEHAWU later on the day, Comrade Mzwandile Makwayeba, to come and address the workers to give a way forward on some of the issues.
Mr. Stembiso Dembe, who is the chairperson of NEHAWU here in the Parliament branch, just telling us about, the status of these negotiations with the management. Just Elvis, on the security front, as I've said earlier, at Parliament had said yesterday that they have secured another interdict that prohibits any protests inside Parliament. But up until now, we haven't really seen any, public order policing, trying to disperse, the workers. So the situation at the moment is still relatively calm. We'll keep you updated with regards to any developments that are occurring here in the precinct.
Thank you, Bulalani. That's Bulalani Philip, our reporter in Parliament, and you'll keep us updated as to the protest there in the precinct. Now, significant imports of maize are on the cards as one of the worst droughts in decades intensifies in our country. Agri-SA and the South African Agricultural Business Chamber say good rains over the next few months may still break the drought cycle. But scenarios are increasingly pointing to a situation where staple food will have to be imported. The two organizations say the drought has an extensive regional reach that will have further food security ramifications. They say banks will strive to assist farmers to survive the drought through debt consolidation and other means. Agri-SA says they will engage with government to ensure food security and the sustainability of the agricultural industry. Meanwhile, a government ministerial team is expected to brief the public about the water crisis in the country today. The ministers will reportedly explain some of the strategies government is implementing to try and alleviate the situation. Meanwhile, a government ministerial team will then brief the public on the water crisis today later, and we'll see if we can update you on that story as it unfolds there and bring you the latest on their plans as it continues. Now, for more on the story, we are now joined by Panashe Kapuya, the Head of International Trade and Investment at the South African Agricultural Business Chamber. A very good morning to you, Squire, and welcome.
Morning, how are you?
Very, very well, sir. Now, first and foremostly, tell us, how bad is the situation in the country?
The situation has been quite bad. Actually, it's probably a bit worse than most analysts had predicted. We've seen some projections that had been initially made sometime in April being revised upwards. So the initial estimate was that we were going to import 758,000 tons of maize, but now they're expecting that we'll import around about 770,000 tons of maize. 62% of the current projections have already been imported. So the country has already spent an estimated 2.2 billion rand in food imports. Most of that is yellow maize, of course. 700,000 tons will be yellow maize. The white maize is the one that has been projected upwards because your white maize is what you use for human consumption. The yellow maize is the key input in the meat and dairy products. So what we've seen is that from February up until now, prices have increased for white maize have increased by around 65%, and producer prices for yellow maize have increased by around 45% on a year-on-year basis. So obviously these observations and price movements will have some significant implications on food prices eventually.
Now, there are also reports of the rise in prices of red meat because of the drought in the coming months. How true is that?
That might not resonate with some of the sentiments in the industry because it's been reported that there is 68% more meat on the market already. And if we saw the messages that have come out of government in the past couple of days and weeks, they've been encouraging the slaughter of livestock as part of the measures to alleviate the devastating situation. So we will see supplies of meat in the market, and this obviously will mean that prices for the meat will not increase. In fact, we will probably see them going sideways. Maybe to some extent, the festive demand for meat might also help to support prices, but we expect that in the short term, those prices will not shoot up as predicted by others.
Just to summarize, so we'll have rising prices, we have more imports. What is the total economic impact on the agricultural sector?
Wow, we've seen some analysts revising their growth forecasts. Some Twitter updates suggesting that you can knock out as much as 1% from the GDP growth. So for those analysts that were predicting a 1.5% growth, you can now expect less than 1% economic growth. But what we see is that the drought does not only have implications on primary production, but it also has significant implications on the secondary food manufacturing industry, which is huge in terms of contribution to overall GDP. So we can expect that some knock-on effects on GDP, which we're not quite sure the extent to which that will impact the overall economy, but we know that it will have some downward effects on growth forecasts.
Now, just briefly, Mr. Kapuya, are you in contact with government to assist the sector to alleviate the situation and ensure that we do have food security in some way? There is always engagement between private sector and government. And in this particular situation, we've seen some efforts from private sector to talk to government regarding drought mitigation strategies. Obviously, there have been some scenarios that have been drawn up to try to see the extent to which the future El Nino effects might have in the next consumption year. But we still wait to see a more robust engagement on the issue. Mr. Panashe Kapuya, thank you so much for your time. That was the head of international trade and investment at the South African Agricultural Business Chamber. Now let's take a look at some of the prices and how they've risen in the previous year. If we can just get up a map here so we can see what is going on. If we can see it here on the big screen. In fact, we haven't got it there, but as you can see it on screen there, you look at your screen there, you'll see white bread since last year has changed prices from 10.37 to 10.57 in December. That's a 0.9% rise there. Look at this. If you look at the price of maize, increased by 1.3% overall from October to December, as well as 2.4% in the price of rice and eggs. The last one there, 19.2%. That's your rise in the prices last year in 3 months' time. So it's now November. I hope you did your shopping already, because you would note that the prices again will rise as we speak. Now, Johannesburg Emergency Services will be returning to the Msawawa informal settlement in Randburg to continue assisting individuals who lost their homes in a fire yesterday. That fire destroyed at least 200 shacks, which were built near Kaya Sands, that's north of Johannesburg. No one was injured in the incident. Our reporter, Makhetla Moshlabe, is there to give us an update. A very good morning to you and welcome. Can you please paint us a picture of what's currently happening there today?
A very good morning to you, Elvis. Well, I can tell you that at this point in time, the residents are gathering what they can from what happened yesterday. I can see some still trying to rebuild their shacks after the devastating fire. Now, the cause of the fire, of course, is being investigated, but reports are saying that what caused the fire was an unattended paraffin stove, whereas others saying that it was due to a failed fire that was, uncontrolled yesterday. But from the EMS side, they are saying that no confirmations have been revealed so far as to what caused that particular fire. But what I can tell you now is that since this morning, 8 organizations have been, coming through, trying to help the residents here, giving them breakfast. And of course, I understand that they will be here throughout the day, as well as I understand that the stakeholders currently in a meeting, stakeholders such as social development, Department of Education, human settlements, they are in a meeting just to discuss a way forward in terms of, helping the community members here. So we understand that almost 1,000 of family members here have lost, their property. So I'm looking at some sitting down, looking so desperate. And on the other side, we understand that the matriculants are writing today. So I spoke to one parent saying that she didn't have a choice but just to encourage her child to go and write that paper today. So it's really a devastating situation as we're speaking right now.
What about emergency service? Are they back on site again this morning or not?
Definitely. They are back on site this morning just to monitor, just in case anything again happens. But I've also spoken to the spokesperson, Narada, there, who's saying that she's also going to be part of that meeting just to hear what role other stakeholders are going to play in terms of helping the displaced families that are, rebuilding their shacks here.
Mm-hmm. And authorities, what are they saying? Do they have any plans to relieve the families that has lost their homes?
Yeah, exactly. I spoke to the city of Johannesburg authorities. They are telling me that they are also part of the meeting. And as we saw last year, because this area is not the first time, we've seen the same incident last year where about 250 families lost everything in the blaze. So they are saying that Home Affairs may also, be part of this particular relief in terms of, giving the families permanent or rather temporary documents in order, to get going in life. That's what we saw last year. And hopefully Home Affairs will be coming through to actually help the families here.
Makhetla, thank you so much for that update. That's our reporter Makhetla Moshlabe in Msawawa, just north of Johannesburg, and we'll keep you updated on that story as well. Now, heads of state of Southern African Customs Union members are meeting today, hoping to reinvigorate and strengthen the organization. Now, they will be opening the organization's head office in the Namibian capital, Windhoek.
The official opening of SACCU's new headquarters here in Windhoek, Namibia, will largely be a ceremonial event. So you can expect to be no formal or major policy decisions taken, even though the heads of state of SACCU member states will be present. However, officials here say that SACCU still remains very relevant despite the prevailing economic conditions globally.
We need to find ways of pulling together much more effectively than we have in the past to address some of the real challenges of our economies and to develop much more solid partnerships than we've been able to do up to now. That's been the sort of way we've looked at this matter.
But we felt it is important to recommit ourselves to taking forward all the processes that we had committed to and take them to the next level And as we will be briefing our presidents later in the day, we will be urging them to encourage us to take these processes forward. And we are also going to be looking at the roadmap of putting clear timelines.
Meanwhile, SACCU's executive secretariat has voiced concerns over dwindling revenue shares.
As you know, globally there's a slowdown, and so that definitely does affect our economies as well, which means therefore the revenue collected would have gone down, and so that would have affected the revenue shares that will be allocated to member states. So yes, there will be a decline in revenue shares.
SACCU's new headquarters has been built on land donated by the Namibian government. Tumalo Mohlaudi, SABC News, Windhoek, Namibia. Well, it's all systems go here in Windhoek, Namibia, at the venue where the official opening of the SACCU's new headquarters in Windhoek, Namibia will take place. President Jacob Zuma of South Africa and his counterparts from the SACCU member states are expected to gather here and inaugurate the building, which has been donated by the Namibian government. The delegates behind me in this marquee are diplomats and other members of the economic commissions from the various SACCU member states who will be discussing various issues, including the revenue sharing system, which has been so much in the news because of how it is structured and how South Africa, which has been the biggest member state in SACCU, feels aggrieved in terms of how it works. However, SACCU Secretariat says that everyone is looking forward to the big inauguration.
This is the first time SACCU in 13 years have had its own building in Namibia. Namibia had pledged to give it land, and that land we have utilized it at SACCU to have our building in it. Our chairperson of the council, or of the member states, Honorable Zuma, will be the one inaugurating this building today. So all the member states will be present from Botswana, Lesotho, South Africa, Namibia, and Swaziland.
SACCU's revenue sharing system has come under the spotlight, especially in context of the worst drought experienced in southern Africa in decades. Tumalo Mohlaudi, SABC News, Windhoek, Namibia.
Now for a live update on the story, President Jacob Zuma will today open the building of the Southern African Customs Union in Windhoek, Namibia. The president will be joined by heads of state from Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho and Swaziland. That building, the inauguration thereof, comes at a time when SACCU revenues are hit hard by drought and the global recession. Let's go there live.
By our President, His Excellency President Hage Geingob, this inauguration. And I like that verse, Psalm 118, verse 24. This is a day of the Lord. Let us be happy. Let us celebrate. Save us, Lord. Save us. Give us success. I want to repeat. Save us, Lord. Save us. Give us success. I would like to, with your permission, say few words. Honorable Director of Ceremonies. I will be very short. It is a profound honor and privilege to read with you the word of the Lord and to say a prayer. And indeed, as I read it, this is a day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. The Council of Churches in Namibia and the entire religious community in Namibia are pleased to join for this historic and joyful ceremony. In our view, the South African Customs Union is indeed a very critical vehicle, not only for regional cooperation between our countries, but also for the upliftment of the living conditions of our citizens. We as members of the Council of Churches and as religious community fully support the call by our President, Dr. Hage Geingob, to declare war against poverty and to ensure that no citizen should be left out or left behind from experiencing a prosperous and blessed life in this beauty country of us. Dear sisters and brothers, poverty is not limited to one nation or one continent. In that, poverty is a social reality across nations and continents. The difference is only matter of degrees. Poverty's unfulfillment of basic human needs required for accurately sustained life free from disease, misery, hunger, pain, suffering, and hopelessness and fear. We as the Council of Churches actively participate in this struggle for socio-economic justice for all to enjoy their basic human rights, not only because of our Constitution requires this, but this is also a biblically obligation. At the core of poverty alleviation is a God-given dignity that should be adhered to. Therefore, this noble cause of today inaugurating these SACO offices is a sign for us that the Namibian government and the region as such is very much serious to tackle the issue of poverty. Therefore, we are with you and are really applauding you in this noble cause. We are assuring the Namibian government and all the member states that we are willing to take hands with one another. And I have to say that the church has also to play a role in the whole process of fighting poverty in this country. We must start now. We must not wait until the last end when people are dying. Therefore, I am urging to respected leaders of our governments to continue investing the revenues generated through SACO in programs that address the needs of most vulnerable. In conclusion, on behalf of the Council of Churches in Namibia, we salute you, Comrade President. We salute you, all the presidency present, head of states, And we are praying for you that God will guide you throughout this journey, fighting poverty and uplifting the lives of our people. Let us pray. Father in the highest heaven, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you that you have bring us from far and near together so that we can celebrate and also witness today the inauguration of the SACO buildings. We are beseeching you that you bless those who will be working in these offices. Grant them the wisdom and the spirit of listening and the spirit of hard work. Lead us, O Lord, into all our plans which we are planning. We are requesting your presence during these activities. So may your name be blessed now and forever. In the name of God the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, I must apologize because I have neglected to recognize the man who actually put the building on the spot. It is His Excellency Hifikepunye Pohamba, the former President of the Republic of Namibia and then Chair of SACU. My apologies, Honorable Pohamba. It gives me now pleasure to invite the Executive Secretary, Madame Paulina Elago, to give her statement. Madame Elago.
Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Kalesh Letwine, Minister of Finance of Namibia, Your Excellency, President Jacob Zuma, President of the Republic of South Africa, and Chairperson of SACU, and Madame Zuma, Your Excellency, Lieutenant General Seretse Khama Ian Khama, President of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, Right Honorable Barnabas Dlamini, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Swaziland, and Madame Dlamini, Honorable Matejwao Metsieng, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Your Excellency, President Hifikepunye Pohamba, former President of the Republic of Namibia, the Right Honorable Saraku Wangelwa Amadila, Prime Minister of the Republic of Namibia, Honorable Peter Kachavivi, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Aser Kapere, Chairman of the National Council, His Lordship, Mr. Peter Shivute, Chief Justice, Honorable Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of Namibia, Honorable Tlantla Nene, Minister of Finance of South Africa and the Chairperson of SACU Council of Ministers, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament here present, Honorable Laura McLeod Kachira, Governor of the Commerce Region, Your Excellencies, Member of the Diplomatic Corps, representatives of regional organizations, officials of the SACU Secretariat, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Dumelang, Mwararapo, Mwapenduka, Morokeni, Sanibonani, Sanibona, Molweni. I trust I have covered most of the language that are spoken in this room this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored to address this August gathering on the occasion of the inauguration of the SACU headquarters. On behalf of the SACU Secretariat and on my own behalf, it is my privilege to welcome you all to this historic occasion. Thank you for honoring our invitations to witness this momentous ceremony. I would like to extend a special welcome to the SACU heads of state and government to the SACU headquarters. On behalf of the Secretariat, we express our deepest gratitude to their excellencies for finding the time in their busy schedule to come to Windhoek to inaugurate the SACU headquarters, which is your very own building. This will certainly be an event which will forever be etched in SACU's annals and legacies. In the same vein, let me also welcome the SACU Council of Ministers, members of the SACU Commission and Finance and Audit Committee, and further thank them for their leadership and the oversight provided to the Secretariat during the construction of this building. Looking at the entire facility, which you will have an opportunity to tour later, we can all be proud of the outcome of our efforts. At the Secretariat, and indeed the whole of SACU, we are truly proud to contribute such a modern structure to the landscape and architecture of the city of Windhoek. Your Excellencies, it will be remiss of me not to acknowledge the tremendous support that the Secretariat has received from the government and people of Namibia since its establishment in 2004. The government of Namibia has generously supported SACU in various ways to facilitate its operations in Namibia. More critically, we thank the government of Namibia for making available the land where our headquarters is standing, as well as the support in organizing this event today. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, the construction of this building commenced in September 2012 and was completed in April 2014, which was within the agreed time frame as well as the approved budget. To that end, I wish to recognize the people, some of whom are with us here today, who worked tirelessly to plan, coordinate, and build this landmark in the heart of the city of Windhoek. The immense and invaluable contribution made by all those who were involved in ensuring that the headquarters became a reality are highly appreciated. Let me therefore also acknowledge the architects, Barnard and Mutua, who were responsible for the design of this impressive building, and congratulate them for the job well done. In the same vein, I would like to extend our appreciation to the contractors, engineers, quantity surveyors, and indeed all the other professional teams who were involved in this project. I further wish to acknowledge the dedication and hard work invested by the Secretariat staff in this project and their patience in ensuring that the project is successfully delivered. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, one can only concede that the Secretariat, given our skills and expertise, could not have monitored this project. Most of us are economists, statisticians, and therefore construction is not really our business. Without the critical and invaluable support of the task team, the SACU task team for the headquarters project, we couldn't have done that. And I would like to appreciate all their input and expert advice and applaud them for their guidance. As I only came to the tail of this project in April 2014, when I joined SACU, I can only extend my deep gratitude to my predecessor and the founding executive secretary of SACU, Ambassador Moremi, for steering the project to its conclusion. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, surely with these impressive facilities at the disposal of the Secretariat, it goes without saying that it has created an enabling environment necessary to execute our mandate. Let me assure you that the Secretariat staff stand ready to fulfill and implement the SACU Priority Work Program as approved by the Summit in order to realize the SACU vision of an economic community with equitable and sustainable development dedicated to the welfare of its people for a common future. It is acknowledged that full implementation of the SACU Agreement of 2002 requires great efforts by both member states and the Secretariat, and the need to put in place processes that will ensure that we attain our goals as an organization. I am mindful of the challenges towards the achievement of these goals. However, I strongly believe that these challenges are not insurmountable. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, let me thank you for being here, especially to their Excellencies who have taken valuable time out of their tight schedule to grace us with their presence and to inaugurate this new home of the SACU Secretariat. Thank you for dedicating your time to participate in this event, and we look forward to your partnership and continued cooperation. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Ilago. Your Excellencies, when His Excellency President Hifikepunye Pohamba, together with you, presided over the groundbreaking ceremony, we had pitched a tent to host you. Now that we have a building, we again pitch a tent to host you. But it is not because we have no building. We have a building now. It is because so many of you wanted to join us in these celebrations. Your Excellencies, it is now my great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, to welcome you to this inauguration. President Geingob.
Thank you, please. Director of Ceremonies. President Jacob Zuma, Chairman of SACU, President Seretse Khama, Seretse Ian Khama, President of the Republic of Botswana, Prime Minister Barnabas Dlamini, the Kingdom of Swaziland, Deputy Prime Minister, Metsing of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Your Excellency, Comrade Hifikepunye Pohamba, President, Right Honorable Sarah Kuangola Amadila, Prime Minister of the Republic of Namibia. I just said President. I didn't say President of Republic of Namibia. That's this one here. Honorable Peter Katsavivi, Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Aser Kapere, Chairperson of National Council, Your Lordship, Peter Shivute, Chief Justice, Honorable Ministers from Namibia and Member States, Minister Nene, the Chairman of SACU, Council of Ministers, Deputy Prime Minister, who is also Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, members of Diplomatic Corps, Ms. Paulina Elako, Executive Secretary of SACU. I nearly come out because I thought she welcomed all of us, but I was instructed by the chairman to come and welcome them, so that's why I'm doing that. Distinguished invited guests, local and regional media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Namibia, I warmly welcome you to Windhoek. Your presence here today is testimony to the importance we all attach to this union and its continued role in deepening economic integration amongst our 5 countries. SACU is the oldest customs union in the world and therefore serves as a building block for SADC and other regional economic bodies. I'm reminded of the words of Tate Nelson Mandela, who said, and I quote, "I dream of the realization of the unity of Africa, whereby its leaders combine their efforts to solve the problems of this continent." While ours is a union of only 5 countries, the aims and objectives of SACU encompasses the ideals referred to by Comrade Mandela. A worrying global development is the discrepancy in income distribution across and within nations. The rich are getting richer, while the poor remain in a vicious poverty trap. Therefore, prosperity must be shared and growth must be inclusive. Furthermore, let us be cognizant of the dangers of unequal economic development. What we want for our union and region are economies characterized by sustained and inclusive growth as well as stable political climates. The African Development Bank undertook a study on the prospects for the economic integration of Southern Africa. The study indicates that Africa must transform its weak production structures and fragmented markets by embracing economic integration with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. The ghastly alternative would be a subcontinent at risk of marginalization in its participation in the global economy. In this regard, we need to transform our region into a hive of economic opportunities and in so doing, make economic participation more accessible and inclusive. Your Excellencies, under the SACU Agreement of 2002, the Council provides political and strategic guidance and is the highest decision-making authority on SACU matters. I'm happy that we have made progress in institutionalizing the summit of the SACU heads of state and government. It can thus be expected that the SACU summit will strengthen sub-regional stability and development and increase investor confidence in our sub-region. The extent of our political will and commitment to the economic integration process will determine the success of SACU. It is against this background that I call upon all our member states to work together to further deepen and strengthen work on the priority areas of focus of SACU, including a review of the revenue sharing model, intellectual property, industrial development, industrial policy, and strengthening the capacity of SACU Secretariat, amongst others. With these remarks, please allow me once again to welcome my brothers to the land of the brave for the inauguration of the SACU headquarters. Let us continue to work together as a family in this SACU house to build a strong and prosperous sub-region where nobody should feel left out. Let me conclude by quoting the SACU vision, which was adopted at the SACU Heads of State and Government meeting right here in Windhoek in 2010. And it reads, very short, and I quote, "An economic community with equitable, sustainable development dedicated to the welfare of its people for a common future." Let us then work for common future. Let us work for the well-being of all our people. I therefore once more welcome you. I hope it is not too hot. You will enjoy your short stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Hage Geingob, for your statement. We are making good progress, and I have now the distinct pleasure and honor to invite His Excellency President Jacob Zuma, the President of the Republic of South Africa and the Chairperson of SACU, to give his statement. President Zuma.
Thank you. So I didn't realize you can't stand up for this young man. How? So I was not watching. Thank you, Director of the Program, Your Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, Your Excellency, Lieutenant General Seretse Khama Ian Khama, President of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellency, Dr. Dlamini, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Swaziland, Your Excellency, Mosematsing, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Executive Secretary of SACU, senior officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity first to express my personal gratitude to our host, President Geingob, his government, and the beautiful people of Namibia for the hospitality extended to us since our arrival. The hospitality afforded us, and indeed the wonderful welcoming remarks by President Geingob have suddenly reminded us that we are one people, we belong to the same region, and we share the same history and aspirations. Let me also hasten to extend our profound gratitude to the government and people of Namibia for generosity donating the land on which our SACU headquarters are built. Ladies and gentlemen, it was on the 22nd April 2010 that we marked a historic occasion of the celebration of the 100 years of SACU on this very site, under the leadership of the former President Buhamba, who is with us here today. Today, 5 years later, we meet again to mark yet another milestone, which is the conclusion of a project to build a SACU headquarters building. As we meet here today, we are fully conscious of the collective responsibility we bear towards Africa's founding fathers to promote continental and regional integration. I must add that the very decision by SACU member states to establish a headquarters, I think it speaks volumes with regard to our commitment to continue with SACU as an important instrument for us as neighbor countries. If we did not have that commitment, I don't think we would have thought of establishing a headquarters. So I'm very pleased that if there was any doubt anywhere that there is no commitment for the continuation of this wonderful organization, this very act deals with that doubt very clearly. Your Excellencies, the visionary words of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah are worth repeating when he said, and I quote, "Forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keep us apart," unquote. These words are as important today as they were decades ago. We are pleased, therefore, to gather as regional leaders today to witness the official launch of the SACU headquarters building, which is a symbol of our collective effort to promote regional growth and development of the SACU region and its people, as well as a symbol of unity among SACU member states. This is, therefore, an important historic gathering. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we meet in a time of global turbulence framed by the uncertainty of a seemingly fragile world economic recovery and outlook. Effective regional integration is of particular importance and pertinence now, especially with uncertainty surrounding the global economy and stagnation still likely to continue in traditional markets such as Europe. Enormous opportunities for cross-border trade within Africa in food products, basic manufacturers, and services remain unexploited. The cross-border production networks that have been a silent feature of development in other regions, especially East Asia, have yet to be materialized in Africa. Hence, the renewed focus on sectoral cooperation through a value chain approach to industrial development. We need to utilize our resources to change the region's fortune away from an exporter of primary products and an importer of manufactured goods. Challenges in our own continent remind us of the immense burden of responsibility we carry as African leaders to bring about substantive improvements to the material well-being of our citizens. As such, we are compelled to create enabling environments for our economies to prosper and grow. Sustainable economic growth and development is essential if we are to support the creation of more sustainable livelihoods for our citizens and, in particular, our youth through the provision of decent jobs and employment. We therefore need to align developmental strategies and programs aimed at poverty alleviation, underdevelopment, food security, and the like across national, regional, and continental boundaries. There is no single country that can prosper on its own. Our destinies are intertwined. Our economies are inextricably linked, and our market is small by global standards. Global growth is expected to be the slowest since the Great Recession. This new world order is characterized by lower commodity prices, which are likely to stay low for the foreseeable future, and weakening of currencies resulting from slow growth in the economies of our major trading partners, particularly China. Ladies and gentlemen, developing economies such as ours face widening trade deficits resulting from low commodity prices, and weak demand for imports has come to put pressure on our foreign exchange reserves and, consequently, on our fiscal and monetary policies. As SACU member states, we need each other more than ever before. We need to consider very seriously what we can do to avert these crises for the benefit of our people. It is my considered opinion that as we celebrate another achievement in SACU, we should spare a moment to reflect on all these urgent and pressing challenges. It cannot be business as usual. We need to develop practical work programs that address the challenges we collectively face to promote complementarities between our economies. To consider a funding mechanism that will ensure speedy and effective implementation of agreed programs. This requires that we take charge of our destiny due to limited resources and aid globally. Ladies and gentlemen, diversification is important. An economy and export basket concentrated in a few products could be very vulnerable and prone to destabilization. Sustainable and continued economic development becomes very unlikely, if not impossible, in such a destabilized economic environment. In addition, a strong and diversified manufacturing sector across the region will increase the impact of SACU as an integration tool for all of us. Competitive and diversified manufacturing will increase the trade potential among us. And I think, my colleagues, it is important to take into consideration that the changed world today needs us to think quicker so that we can take advantage of the developments that are taking place. If, for an example, we are talking about us coming up with projects that interlink the countries in a serious manner, we should know that time is going. We now have BRICS Bank that is going to be looking for projects. So we can't take too long to work on the projects that will indeed fulfill our dream that our SACU will become a powerful instrument of its members. Because we must be ready when the BRICS Bank is in full operation to present projects from SACU. It's absolutely critical. I want to underline this point because our ministers and officials should bear that in mind as we work. We don't have time on our side. We need to move faster. Ladies and gentlemen, as SACU heads of state and government, we have met several times, and on the 12th April 2013, we signed the amendments to the SACU Agreement of 2002, institutionalizing the SACU Summit. We have noted that the SACU Council of Ministers had streamlined the 5-point priority list to underpin the SACU work program on regional industrial development as an overarching objective of the SACU. The work program included 8 priority sectors with potential for cross-border collaboration. 1, textile, clothing, and apparel. 2, agro-processing. 3, mineral beneficiation and processing, including mining and quarrying. 4, leather and leather products. 5, automotive, including automotive components. 6, energy, including renewable, alternative energy. 7, arts and culture. And 8, support services, information and communication technology, ICT, financial skills development, infrastructure, transport and logistics, and engineering. I think these are powerful things that we have identified. What we need is a focused, clear, unpacking, crystallizing specifics of what we need to do to grow these. We must therefore act purposefully to strengthen and identify competitive advantages in value-added production and trade, including through the development of complementary cross-border value chains. Well-developed infrastructure, as well as the market size offered by the combined SACU member states markets, are essential underpinnings for industrial development and are key to foster economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, SACU has a potential through collective effort to address the challenges facing the region. Our economies have resources that can be utilized to spur economic growth through the development of both our agriculture and manufacturing sector. We must redouble our efforts to build and rehabilitate the regional infrastructure that must underpin production and trade growth. We also agree that SACU continues to play an important role in the economies of its member states, and that it should be transformed into a vehicle for regional integration capable of promoting equitable development and the new SACU vision. Consequently, as leaders, we agreed on the need to take bold decisions requiring a collective commitment towards securing the long-term economic prosperity of our region to the benefit of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, as we inaugurate this eco-friendly and state-of-the-art building, we should move beyond strategies towards programs that meet our strategic objectives. Our people expect a lot from us. They expect us to create employment opportunities. They expect us to deliver social services. With our collective effort, we can deliver these, and we need to commit ourselves to doing exactly that. We are not to fail. We must succeed. I thank you, Director of the program.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Zuma, for your statement. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to announce some streamlining of the program. The next item on the program will be the vote of thanks. Thereafter, I will invite heads of state to tour the building and immediately go into their consultations. While heads of states are in the consultations, you invited guests may tour the building, and thereafter we are together for lunch again. I hope that is clear. Now I have the pleasure to request the Right Honourable Prime Minister Barnabas Dlamini, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Swaziland, to give us the vote of thanks. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you so very much, Program Director. Your Excellency, Lieutenant General Seretse Khama, Ian Khama, President of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellency Jacob Zuma, the President of the Republic of South Africa and Chair of the SACU Summit, Your Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, Honorable Mutejwa Metsing, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Your Excellency, former President of Namibia, Your Excellency Hamba, Your Honor, the Vice President of the Republic of Namibia, the Right Honourable Prime Minister of the Republic of Namibia, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and His Lordship, the Chief Justice, Honourable Ministers and members of the SACU Council, Your Excellency, the Executive Secretary of SACU, Honourable Members of Parliament, the Honourable Governor of the Commerce Region, Your Worship, the Mayor of the City of Windhoek, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Excellencies, representatives of the regional organizations, distinguished invited guests, officials of the SACU Secretariat, the media, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, on behalf of His Majesty King Mswati III and the Queen Mother of the Kingdom of Swaziland, let me start by conveying our deep appreciation to His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob for welcoming the SACU heads of state and government together with their delegations to your beautiful capital, Windhoek. It is an honor for all participants to be present at this special occasion in the history of our SACU partnership. I thank all present for their attendance at this very special event of SACU. The continuing support and active collaboration that has been given towards the realization of SACU's objectives is greatly appreciated. We have all been together on this long journey from concept to completion in the project to construct the SACU headquarters. The outcome is a magnificent structure that is about to be inaugurated here in Namibia, the home of SACU, and a building that is the source of great pride to us all as we participate in today's ceremony. It is my privilege to be able to express our deep gratitude to the government and people of Namibia for donating the land for the project. Furthermore, the membership of SACU is immensely grateful to the government of Namibia for the support and facilitation work given during the execution of the construction project. From the presentations and viewing this iconic structure, it is clear that a project of such magnitude was no easy task. It was many hands that made light work, as the saying goes. In other words, that made the huge amount of work achievable. In that regard, let me therefore commend all officials, our officials, under the able leadership of the SACU Council of Ministers and the SACU Commission, who ensured that the project was delivered within the allocated budget and agreed timelines. To Madam Executive Secretary and her officials at the Secretariat, we give our congratulations for their dedication to ensuring successful completion of the project. Credit also must go to the members of the task team for the SACU headquarters project. This team was made up of representatives of the SACU member states, and we thank them for the professional and technical support given to the Secretariat during the project implementations. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me further extend our appreciation to the technical team that carried out the construction of the new building. Bernard Mutua, the architects, New Era Investment, the contractor, Hendrik Hesselman, quantity surveyors, Burmester and Partners, the engineers, Silen Binder, the consulting engineers, and Windhoek Consulting engineers, as well as all other professional teams involved in the construction of the building. We commend and thank you all for your work. Not only do we now have a truly impressive new headquarters, but it has been achieved on time and without any escalation costs. In these fiscal challenging times that our representative government face, that is music to the ears. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate this historic event in the life of SACU, we can only encourage the Secretariat to treasure the building and ensure that maintenance is carried out in a manner commensurate with the high standards of construction. We hope further that the high quality and superb facilities of the building will prove to be an inspirational work environment assisting the officials of the Secretariat, and indeed all other stakeholders as they work to facilitate the achievement of SACU's objectives. In conclusion, Your Excellencies, may I express appreciation to Madam Executive Secretary and her staff, as well as all other officials, for the efforts made in preparing for this inauguration. Our sincere gratitude also goes to the government of Namibia, our hosts, for the usual warm Namibian welcome and hospitality extended to all of us. And thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Prime Minister, for the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are moving now to the...
Oh, that's the new SACU building in Namibia being opened by the president there, and of course a number of other African delegates. But right now, Kendall Makamate standing by with your sports news, and there's lots happening there, Kendall.
Absolutely, Elvis. Some brand new news as well, like the 5 candidates for FIFA president have been announced.
I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you very much, Elvis, and good morning to you and welcome back. Now, the FIFA Ad Hoc Electoral Committee has announced the 5 candidates eligible to stand for election for the office of FIFA president at the election which should take place at the extraordinary FIFA Congress in Zurich on the 26th of February 2016. The candidates declared are HRH, Prince Ali Al Hussein, Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa, Jerome Champagne, and Tokyo Sequale, as well as Gianni Infantino from UEFA. They all passed the integrity checks that FIFA has instituted. The Ad Hoc Electoral Committee did not admit the candidature of Musa Hassan Biliti in view of the content of the integrity check relating to him. And suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter is recovering in hospital after a health scare, but is expected to be discharged soon. Blatter has been in hospital since Friday when his US-based lawyer Richard Cullen issued a statement saying that the Swiss national had been admitted for a checkup. Now, FIFA has been in turmoil since 14 soccer officials and sports marketing executives, including 2 FIFA vice presidents, were indicted by the United States in May. Blatter won a 5th mandate in May just after the corruption scandal erupted with police raids on a hotel used by top FIFA officials. 4 days later, as pressure mounted, he called a new Congress in Zurich for February to choose his successor. In September, the Swiss Attorney General's office initiated criminal proceedings against Blatter over a $2 million payment from FIFA to UEFA President Michel Platini. Now, both men have denied any wrongdoing. Blatter was suspended just days later. Under the terms of the suspension, Blatter is not allowed into the FIFA headquarters or any football stadium in any official capacity. And staying with all of the news that's been hitting headlines all over the world, President Vladimir Putin says Russia needed to conduct its own investigation into allegations that its athletes had systematically taken performance-enhancing substances. He added that if problems were found, someone would have to be personally assume responsibility for the issue, and that those who have not violated any rules, they should not take any responsibility because they hadn't committed any violations. And moving on to other sports stories, Mozambique and Zambia both recorded narrow victories against Gabon and Sudan, respectively, in the first leg of the second-round World Cup pre-qualifiers for Russia 2018. Both countries were 1-0 winners in matches that kicked off 6 days of second-round qualifiers across the continent.
Zambia take a 1-0 advantage into the second-leg qualification match scheduled for Ndola on Sunday. In the 28th minute, Sudanese goalkeeper Akram El Hadi and defender Ramadan Aga both missed the ball in a delicate position. The top goal scorer in the Zambian league, Winston Kalengo, capitalized on the error. The ball fell on his path against the run of play to fire into an empty net. The Sudanese players protested, claiming infringement, but the referee awarded the goal. Mozambique also pulled off a 1-0 win over Gabon in Maputo. Gabon were forced to play the match without their informed Borussia Dortmund striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who missed the match due to injury. The visitors were the first to pose a serious threat. They struck the woodwork in the first half of the match. However, they remained under pressure for most of the game.
They have the space for the shot. has come off the frame of the goal. Beautiful strike it is.
Bloemfontein Celtic striker Helder Pelembe scored from a powerful strike in the 54th minute to secure the victory. Gabon, who are ranked 42 places above Mozambique on the FIFA rankings, host the second leg of the qualifier on Saturday in Libreville. SABC News.
Now, 2007 Rugby World Cup winning South African coach Jake White has reiterated his statement that he would make himself available for the England job if the English rugby bosses were serious. This after rugby coach Stuart Lancaster vacated the position with immediate effect yesterday by mutual consent with the English Rugby Football Union. The decision follows England's recent Rugby World Cup campaign, which saw the team knocked out of the tournament at the pool stages, a first for a single host nation. RFU Chief Executive Ian Ritchie said England wanted an international coach of proven experience and would not be rushed into finding a replacement for Lancaster, who he'd praised at a news conference at Twickenham. It's not the first time that White has been linked with the job. The current coach of Montpellier has previously lost out to Martin Johnson as well as Lancaster himself. Among the other contenders named are Mike Ford, Eddie Jones and South Africa's Nick Mallett. And while we eagerly await the second test between India and South Africa in Bangalore this coming Saturday, World Cricket has gone on a mission to popularize the sports in the United States. And that's where Shane Warne's Warriors beat Sachin Tendulkar's Blasters by 57 runs to win the second Cricket All-Stars clash in Houston, Texas. The Warriors now lead the inaugural three-match series 2-0 after a 6-wicket victory in New York last weekend.
Sent into bat first, Warne's Warriors enjoyed a quick start. Openers Matthew Hayden and Michael Vaughan contributed 46 runs in 5 overs. But Graham Swan struck in the 6th over, trapping Vaughan leg before wicket for 30. Hayden fell in the next over for 32 before Jacques Kallis and Kumar Sangakkara put the Warriors' innings back on track. Kallis was in fine form before being dismissed by Virender Sehwag. He smashed 45 off 23 balls. His innings included 3 fours and 4 sixes. Lance Klusener finished the pick of the Blasters bowlers. He dismissed Ricky Ponting for 41 and Sangakkara for 70 2 balls later. Jonty Rhodes was unbeaten on 18 with Andrew Simons as the Warriors' innings finished on a respectable 262 for 5. In contrast, the Blasters never posed any real threat, despite having Sehwag, Tendulkar and Brian Lara in their midst. Sean Pollock provided some resistance. He blasted 55 of just 22 deliveries, hitting 1 4 and no less than 7 sixes. But it was too little too late. At the end of their 20 overs, the Blasters finished with a 6, but suffered their second defeat in the series.
I think the Sri Lankan people will be ringing to say, can we have Kumar Sangakkara back? The way he batted today was just, I think a lot of current day players could watch the way Sangakkara went about it, and a lot of the other guys on the side played beautifully tonight.
Los Angeles will play host to the final match in the series on Saturday. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
Looks like a lot of fun. That's where we leave it with the sports. Up next, the weather forecast.
Okay, welcome from the weather desk once again. Let's have a look at this weather. So it looks like we're expecting up to 60% chance of showers, thunder showers, in fact, towards the eastern side of South Africa and along the coastal regions. Some of it will be moving towards the northwest province. We're expecting up to a 30% chance of rain along those parts. Otherwise, clear skies are expected for much of the west, the central part, as well as over Madagascar. Possibilities of some weather systems coming in just along the Indian Ocean, and hopefully that will be bringing rain up until the weekend towards KwaZulu-Natal, spreading further north for the northwest province and into the southern part of Botswana, which is also one of the severely affected places when it comes to drought. The veld fires that we're seeing for today, we're expecting those in the northwest province as well as over the Free State. And not only does it cause veld fires, but also it's associated with a heat wave, which is going to lead to temperatures being significantly high in some areas. You'll see lower 40s are expected in places such as Lephalale as well as over Tabazimbi, including North Ham. The capital, the city of South Africa, is at around 39 degrees, quite a scorcher. And what's also really difficult to deal with is the fact that the minimum temperatures are also expected to be so high. Pretoria, in fact, will start off at around 24 degrees. And you'll see 22 is the maximum for Cape Town, so that's the hottest it will be. The coolest it will be in Pretoria is even hotter than the hottest it will be in Cape Town. So temperatures are really, really affecting us. in a negative way over the northern part. If you're going to be outdoors for long periods, please make sure you are hydrated and wear protective gear, and also have your sunscreen to make sure that you're not affected by direct sunlight. Temperatures for Mariental at 36 degrees, hot weather towards the northern part of Namibia. You're seeing those upper 30s for Oshakati, Tsumeb, Rundu, including Grootfontein, over Botswana as well. Do expect similar conditions as temperatures go as high as around 42 degrees towards Maun, 41 for Francistown, and then Serowe again. Yeah, temperatures here starting to pick up. Yesterday it was just around 38. Now it's at 39, going for 40. Those sunny skies in towards Zimbabwe. My big worry is that Victoria Falls also faces severe drought along those parts, so the falls might actually run dry. Bulawayo 37 degrees. Over the central regions, temperatures also going towards closer to record temperatures there. It's now at around 36 degrees. Tete, well, hot as usual, 42, so it's no surprise there. But Lichinga, which is usually into the lower 20s, is now into the upper 20s. Temperatures also picking up significantly along those parts. Maputo, 31, some cloud cover is expected there. There's a small chance of rain towards Manzini into Swaziland, and some of it will be trickling down towards Mpumalanga, and hopefully that actually happens over the weekend, as we're expecting up to 60% chance of rain for Johannesburg on Saturday and Sunday evening. Okay, that's where I'll leave it for the weather for now, but do stick around here in Newsroom, there'll be more.
Another update, but at the moment it seems we've only got one kind of outlook, and that's very hot in the northern parts of southern Africa.
And no rain. There was a couple of drops last night in my area, but I mean it was like a drop here and a drop there. But that was about it.
Yeah, I saw more fireworks than rain last night, to be honest. I mean, Diwali celebrations have been around. But we ask you a question today. Has the Students' Fees Must Fall campaign been hijacked by criminality after what we've seen in the news the last couple of days? Just tell us what people are saying here.
I was taking a quick sneak peek at what Loretta Jacobus had put in. She says, Newsroom, definitely criminality. I studied there and I hang my head in shame. We protested, but violently as this? No, I think she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And very upset about that.
This one from Kolani, he says, some criminals and students that are not ready for exams, are taking advantage. Why burn property instead of negotiating?
Absolutely. Not being ready for exams, and the entire protest has been around that fact. Not ready for exams, they don't want to write exams. Some have not prepared accordingly. Kolani, a very sobering thought there for all of us to take into consideration. Why spoil it for everybody, Elvis, when you have not prepared accordingly?
If you're not prepared, I mean, how can you go to and write exams? And I think that is maybe the situation currently that we face. But I think that's where we got to leave it for now. Oh, we still got some pictures
here.
Yeah, we
do. This is some video that came in on Twitter of the Nahawu protest at Parliament this morning, guys. It's about a 20-second clip in it. And today, it's almost the opposite of yesterday. It looks a whole lot more becalmed, if one can call it that. Kendall, you saw the tear gas and the like yesterday. I like, what do you call that dance? Looks like the Bart Simpson. Is that the Bart Simpson that they're doing? No?
I'm not sure what it's called. One thing I can say is that it seems as if the way the students first led their protests a few weeks ago is actually feeding through to how the likes of Nahawu and unions are also protesting, because that's working now.
So now you're saying we're heading into a brand new strike season, says Kendall Makamati. Now, this is an interesting one. It's happening at the Linden Police Station today. The MEC for Community Safety, Nkosi Malubani, will address the families and colleagues of slain police officers in the line of duty in and around Johannesburg there. Hasina Kori, who's our very own reporter, officers who died in the line of duty, they are remembered today at the Linden Police Station. There you see a parade actually going on at the Linden Police Station, remembering the fallen.
Well, that's where we got to leave it for today, Elvis. From myself, Elvis Preslin.
Are you sure, Elvis?
Yes,
I'm even Jansen, and I'm not sure these guys know who they are anymore. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
The road to greatness is not an easy one. It's rough, tough, and full of barriers. And there's only one way to master it. Never, ever stop. Dauntless, the all-new Audi Q7.
We make sure to bring you exciting entertainment news on Trends. Ayanda, a vibrant South African movie told with love, passion and exceptional acting.
For Ayanda, at least, it says that we are heading in the right direction. South African films are growing and they are heading in the right direction to become international movies.
The Urban Art Festival artists brought back colour to old buildings of Johannesburg with their spray cans.
Festival to promote graffiti in Johannesburg.